Hellos, welcomes everyone, and Wolf here bringing you a new Let's Play. As you can no doubt tell from the title screen I am using here, once again we are returning to Star Wars The Old Republic, a game developed by BioWare, now Broadsword, and published by EA. This is an MMORG that was released back in December 2011. A game that I've been playing since its release, and I think I've been recording series of this game for at least 9, possibly even 10 years. Bloody hell. So, for those of you who are familiar with one or two of my series, if not more, you know how these introduction parts go. We're going to sit down, explain some of the history, where we find ourselves in the Star Wars universe. We'll give a bit of plot, a bit of lore as to where we are in the galaxy, and then we'll get ourselves into character creation and into the opening cinematic. Of course, once again, we are returning to do a new Bounty Hunter Let's Play, and I believe, nope, I was about to lie to you all. I was about to say I believe this was the first Let's Play I ever did for Star Wars The Old Republic with Valakar. No, I think officially I did start with a Jedi Knight. No, my protagonist, I believe his name was at the time, never really made it off Typhon. Valakar, my first actual series, actually got quite far in the game itself. But before we get ourselves into the timeline itself, feel free to pause, make yourself a drink, get yourself comfortable, and we'll throw ourselves straight into the deep end. Okay, so the Star Wars universe is vast, and it's been retconned back and forth by numerous companies. This happens. Can't avoid it. Where we find ourselves in the Old Republic era. The game itself is set approximately 3,500 years prior to the events of the movies everyone knows. Therefore, a lot of stuff that you know, some of it is still relevant, it hasn't happened yet. We don't need to worry about the future. We are here now in the past, and the situation in the galaxy, some of it's the same, some of it is vastly different. In addition, before we get ourselves into where we find ourselves right now, BioWare had 2 previous titles, known as Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. Consider this the 3rd installment of a trilogy, despite the first 2 being single-player role-playing games, and this one being an online role-playing game. And Star Wars The Old Republic, where we find ourselves now, is set approximately 300 years after the events of the first 2 titles. I mention that because there are some reoccurring themes, and there are some reoccurring characters as well. So, the known galaxy has 2 major factions from where we find ourselves as a new bounty hunter. We have the Galactic Republic, which has been around for, I believe it's 20,000 years since its founding. And it is a somewhat stable major faction made up of different planets, governments, and corporations, all trying to work together for mutual self-interest. Of course, before we actually get into the first major story arc for the Bounty Hunter, we've had the introduction of the second major faction, the Sith Empire. The Sith Empire has always been antagonistic towards the Republic, but they returned and started what is known as the Great Galactic War. This war went on for approximately 28 years, and the Empire were making significant gains on the Republic, conquering numerous worlds. In the end, with the sacking of Coruscant, the capital of the Republic, they were pretty much forced to come to the table and sign a rather uneasy ceasefire, a truce with the Empire. The Empire itself, a lot of the, I suppose, leadership were not happy to even sign this truce. It was the Sith Emperor himself who decided to end the war and bring a treaty to the table with the Republic. Suffice to say, this treaty favoured the Empire in a major way, where they were able to maintain hold of the various planets that they had conquered during the Great Galactic War. With the Treaty of Coruscant, the signing of the ceasefire in place, 10 years have passed before we find ourselves actually in control of our character. 10 years of agents of both sides, diplomats crossing over the borders into neutral or opposite aligned worlds, trying to influence them. Both the Galactic Republic and the Sith Empire, they both know very, very well that war is on the horizon. They are busy rearming themselves, preparing for when they're going to be going to war once again with one another. And as a bounty hunter, well, there is opportunity for those willing to try and make a bit of fame, a bit of a reputation for themselves, and of course there is always credits to be made as well. So, that is kind of where we find ourselves within the galaxy at large. This series is going to be what I consider a long Let's Play. I've used that term quite a few times with Star Wars The Old Republic. What I mean by that is we're not only going to focus on the main or class storyline of the bounty hunter, but we're hopefully going to be able to delve into the side or optional missions that are available. We'll be looking into doing some of the heroic missions, and we'll also be looking to involve ourselves in some of the dungeons known as flashpoints in this game. And we'll also look to do some of the raids known as operations here in Star Wars The Old Republic. And all things going well, we'll hopefully throw ourselves into the expansions after the main storyline has concluded. I'm recording this series just as patch 7.4 has landed. It has added some new cinematic lighting, and there are various other features that I'm hoping to take advantage of. Either way, we'll get ourselves over to character creation. No doubt I have forgotten one or two things. If so, I'll bring them up later. But we'll get ourselves over to character creation, and then we'll take it from there. So, I will see you in just a moment. And welcomes back, everyone. So, before we throw ourselves into character creation, one thing to mention is I will be playing on the Darth Malgus server. I think they have just recently added a new server over, in Asia Pacific, the Shea Vizsla server. Oh, I still remember, I still have numerous characters on the Starforge North American server. But nope. Most of my series, if not all of my recorded and the series you'll see on YouTube are of course from Darth Malgus. And I'm hoping that with 7.4, while there are numerous people who are going to be exploring the new storyline that they've added, I'm hoping people similar to myself will have started a new character. Hopefully. But let us start. We're going to be starting right at level 1, right at the very beginning. We can skip ahead to the Onslaught expansion. That's not fun. Plus we'll encounter characters we don't even know. No, we're going to start at level 1. At the very beginning. And now we get to choose our allegiance. With the Legacy of the Sith expansion, they did change the character creation menu here. They did give you a few new options on how to develop your character. At the same time, they took away a lot of the descriptive text, which I actually find rather disappointing. Suffice to say, as we mentioned, the Galactic Republic has been around for approximately 20,000 years, and is made up of various governing planets and corporations all trying to work together for the greater good of the known galaxy. Of course, some politicians like to work together to make use of their influence to get policies pushed through to benefit their planet or their corporation, and therefore they will use legal and probably less than legal means to make sure they come out better than their competitors. There's a lot of red tape involved in the Galactic Republic, and it works on a general principle, but there is a lot of corruption within the Republic. That is not to say the Sith Empire is better, but they work there is a big difference. The Sith Empire is ruled by the all-powerful Sith Emperor, who is nigh on immortal and has been reigning and controlling the Empire for over a millennium. While anything he says, anything he desires gets done, the day-to-day ruling of the Empire as a whole is conducted by the 12 most powerful Sith, known as the Dark Council. Each member of the Dark Council has their own sphere of influence. One deals with logistics, one deals with intelligence gathering, one deals with military defensive operations, while one will also deal with military offensive operations. These spheres of influence will overlap, and the Dark Council members, while they may respect one another, they don't particularly like one another. Each of them have their own form of a pyramid scheme, they have their own apprentices, they have their own organizational structure. And there is, again, a lot of corruption, there's a lot of nepotism within the Empire to advance yourself, and to really make it far within the Empire, you have to be Sith. You have to have went through the training on the Academy on Korriban, and you have to have ambition, but you also have to have the ability to do what you say, to be able to prove yourself. Normally, that is in the form of combat, because to rise up, you're going to have to basically deal with the competition and probably have to deal with the person whose position you are looking to take over. That is not to say that non-Force sensitives can't make it far within the Empire. They just have to prove themselves all the more. Their advancements are scrutinized heavily, and they are always going to be looked down upon by the Sith themselves. As for the Empire, if you aren't a pure-blooded Sith or human, you are also highly likely to be looked down upon. Aliens, especially with them invading the known galaxy and conquering many worlds, aliens are heavily looked down upon and seen as lesser by the majority of the Empire, most of which are indeed slaves, made use of for manual labor. And that's of course where the bounty hunter is mostly finding their work. The Empire is placing various bounties on Republic and other individuals. And now we get to choose our origin story. This used to be your basic or base class, and then once you left your prologue world of Korriban or Hutta, you would travel to the Imperial Fleet, where you would get to choose one of two advanced classes. That has changed over the years. It used to be that you would choose your advanced class at character creation, rather than have to travel to your respective fleet. And now you choose your advanced class here in character creation once again. But I believe as a subscriber, you are able to choose a second advanced combat style right here at level 1. As a non-subscriber, I think you are also able to choose a second combat style, but you're only able to do that once you've reached a certain point or certain level in the game. I could be mistaken as well. But, of course, we are going to be following the Bounty Hunter origin story. The two standard advanced combat styles were the Power Tech and the Mercenary. We can choose any of the 8 technical combat styles. The Bounty Hunter is basically a mirror class for the Republic Trooper, and their equivalent combat styles are the Vanguard and the Commando. But we don't necessarily have to choose to be to choose any of those 4 combat styles. We can actually choose to be an operative, sniper, scoundrel, and gunslinger as well. To be honest, I think I'm actually going to go back to basics. And we're actually going to start by becoming a Power Tech. And for my second combat style, though this isn't set in stone, I will probably pick up Mercenary. So, we have a bit of a descriptive blurb of text here, letting us know what a bounty hunter is all about. This has been trimmed down greatly, but we'll look at this blurb, and then I'm actually going to tab out, and I'm going to make use of the old descriptive text as well, because it gives you a bit more background into how you may want to play a bounty hunter, and it's a lot more flavorful. But what it mentions here, of course, you are a bounty hunter, expert mercenary for the Sith Empire. The Empire has many enemies, and they'll pay skilled bounty hunters handsomely to remove them with ruthless efficiency. In choosing the Power Tech, we have the best in shielding, defensive tactics, and high-powered flamethrowers, combined to make the power tech an impenetrable one-person blockade, getting up close and personal to take down enemies of all shapes and sizes. As for the mercenary, since we may be choosing the mercenary later, a pair of blasters, deadly heat-seeking missiles, and heavy armor make the mercenary a mobile weapons platform. There's no problem extra firepower cannot solve, and no one with sense gets between a mercenary and their target. But if I just pull this window open to my main screen here, let us go back to the original text. The Bounty Hunter. Countless enemies stand in the way of the Sith Empire's drive for domination. The Empire spares no expense eliminating these threats, offering massive bounties to employ the galaxy's most lethal hunters. Earning a death mark from the Empire means a life spent in fear, constantly looking over one's shoulder. It is never a question if a bounty hunter will find you, only when. Both infamous and anonymous at the same time, bounty hunters are far more than sheer mercenaries for hire. They're heirs to a professional legacy, an ancient brotherhood with a glorious history. Tracking elusive targets across multiple star systems requires expertise, especially when the targets can be prominent, powerful, and often prepared for confrontation. Thrill seekers from all walks of life set out to become bounty hunters, but only the most hard-boiled survive in this competitive and deadly business. The bounty hunter's path lies along the edge. The stakes are always high, and the path only leads two places: to a life of infamous glory, or to a quick and ignominious death. In regards to bounty hunter combat, whether working for credits or for principle, bounty hunters pursue targets with dogged determination and methodical precision. Bounty hunters are renowned for their versatility on the battlefield and their ability to go toe-to-toe with Force users. Their legendary abilities in this arena have earned them the nickname Jedi Killers. Whoever they must face, bounty hunters come armed with the most advanced weaponry on the black market, packing heavy firepower and always keeping a variety of tricks and gadgets at the ready. And I believe that is everything we can talk about for the moment. So, let us continue.
If there's payment involved, I'm interested.
So, we now get to create our character. Though there are numerous different races, different species, I always tend to go back to the most common throughout the known galaxy, and that is playing a human, or indeed a human with cybernetic enhancements. We are actually going to be playing as a cyborg once again, similar to Valakar in fact. So, give me just a moment while I play with the creation settings here. let's see. Oh, bloody hell. There we go. And complexion. Do I want to change the complexion? Yeah, that'll do. Okay. Here is our bounty hunter. We are wearing a rather impressive set of armor here in character creation. That is not what we're going to be wearing in the opening cinematic. We might get that armor later on. We'll just have to wait and see. But our character here will have a name, of course. Our name will be Theia Jendri. Forgive me that the scaling of the text is rather small here in character creation. Theia Jendri. I haven't really created a very in-depth backstory for her. She is a fledgling but skilled bounty hunter, and as we'll see in the opening cinematic, she has been approached by an older, more experienced bounty hunter, as there is an upcoming event known as the Great Hunt, which will soon be taking place. A way to earn your or enhance your reputation amongst hundreds, if not thousands, of bounty hunters, to become all the more well known throughout the galaxy. And we would never get this opportunity unless we were approached by this individual and his crew. And so I'm more than willing to act as the face of this group, as the bounty hunter that will earn us all fame and fortune. But we will click play, we'll get ourselves into the opening Star Wars scroll, and then we'll get ourselves into the opening cinematic. So, I will see you in just a moment.
Almost set up. See if you can't get that security network running, Mako.
Sure thing, Braden. We'll be... hey now.
Hey, indeed. The main attraction is here. Team, this is the girl we're pinning all our hopes on. Best shot I've ever seen in Nerves of Steel. She's great hunt material, all right. What do you say, Hunter? Ready to meet your team?
My team. I like the sound of that.
Get used to the idea. To win the Great Hunt, you'll need support, structure, and intel. Let's do things official-like. This is Mako, little genius I picked up years ago in Nar Shaddaa. She provides intel and tech.
Hope you're as good as the old man says.
And the big bruiser is Jory. He handles the heavy lifting and provides security for our base of operations.
Atungi ma chechu, I kutsig nang kihe.
Nice to meet you both. Let's get to work.
All right, enough introductions. Down to business. We're here because the Great Hunt has been called. Little Mako is the most rabid fan of hunter history this side of Geonosis, and even she doesn't know exactly what the Great Hunt entails.
I do know the names of every great hunt winner, though. Bloodworthy, the Defenestrator, Jewel and Nightbringer.
Every bounty hunter who's won a Great Hunt went on to massive glory and riches, which is why we're here.
What's our first move?
Here's what I know so far. The Great Hunt has two groups, the Mandalorian Elite and freelance bounty hunters sponsored by influential crime lords. There's no time to make you a Mandalorian. That means you need a sponsor.
Nemro the Hutt runs this stinking little town. I've got just enough pull with that gangster to get you an introduction. Mako, scan for every bounty in the area. I want the nastiest, most brutal, untouchable scum you can find.
I'm on it, Braden. One nasty character coming up.
We need to get you situated as a big-time hunter, at least as far as the locals know. Then we contact Nemro. Mako will plant rumors about your off-world exploits. But you have to take down someone impressive and local to sell the reputation.
You find a target, I'll take it down hard.
How's that scan coming, Mako?
Found something. Check this out. Vex Corellian. Champion quick-draw artist, wanted for robbing 15 Imperial military pay stations.
Togawata kiko uba kiriwata buki donko.
Perfect. This Vex is either a madman or a glory hound, and he's obviously dangerous.
Says here Vex has a safe house in the bad part of town, right in the heart of the madness. That'll be fun.
Nemro the Hutt's enemy took over part of this town. It's dangerous poking around in there, but it's your best shot. Raid Vex's safe house and look for something that might help us track him down, but be ready for anything.
Excuse me, but I have a safe house to shoot up.
Be safe out there.
Okay, and welcomes to Star Wars The Old Republic, everyone. Theia here and her new crew. Made up of the retiring bounty hunter Braden, Jory, and Mako. So, before we get ourselves out of the Poison Pit Cantina, hey, I'm surprised I actually remembered the name. We will take a break here with the opening cinematic concluded, and when we come back, we're going to go hunting for our first target, our first bounty, in the form of this quick draw artist Vex, to establish yourself as a big game hunter and to be noticed by this Nemro the Hutt. Thank you all for joining me with this first part of a new series. These introduction parts are always a little awkward. There's a lot of talking, I can only apologize for that. But we'll actually finally get into some action next time when we explore the town of Yaguna. And as we explore the world and a storyline here as a bounty hunter in Star Wars The Old Republic. But, as I mentioned before, feel free to leave a comment if you so wish. And hopefully I'll see you for even more next time as we continue the series going forward. Until then, no, take care. Bye bye now.